Joining us now, Joe Collins. Joe Collins is a Republican veteran. Lived there his whole life, running for Congress in the 43rd District, that's in Los Angeles, against Maxine Waters, who doesn't even live in the district. And before Joe gets on, Joe, hang on a second. I'm going to play his new ad that he's got out on social media, which is, I can't do it justice, so here it is.
I'm Joe Collins. I'm running for Congress against Maxine Waters. Do you know where I am right now? Maxine Waters' $6 million mansion. Do you know where I'm not right now? Maxine Waters District. Yep, that's right. Maxine does not live in her district, but I do. I was born right here in South LA, in a place Maxine refuses to live. Maxine Waters does not drink our water, she does not breathe our air, and while she sits here in her mansion, our district is in ruins. Let me show you. This is South LA. I was born here. I grew up on 104th and Normandy. Maxine Waters has been in office for 44 years. Has anything got better around here? I can tell you firsthand that it hasn't. I survived a drive-by shooting in this house when I was a child. Gangs, drugs, violence, that was my upbringing. And where was Maxine Waters? Nowhere to be found. I survived Maxine's district. Graduated high school, went on to join the U.S. Navy. I fought for this country. But while I was fighting for this country, Maxine Waters could not be bothered to fight for her own district here in America. And when I returned from war, I came back to my community as a war zone. And why doesn't Maxine Waters want to live in her own district? Because she doesn't want to suffer the consequences of her own policies. South Los Angeles has been represented by Maxine Waters for 44 years. What has she done for this district? Just this year, deadly crime spiked 15% in South LA, much of it due to gang activity. The homicide rate in South LA has shot up by 53%. South LA has the highest poverty rate in the city, with a crippling 43% of its residents living below the poverty line. Meanwhile, in LA County has a homeless population of over 40,000 people. Homelessness rates has increased by 264% since 2009. Los Angeles is one of the largest hubs of sex trafficking of young girls and women. LA is in the top 10 least safest cities in America to raise a family. And our schools fail our children. In South LA, 29% of black children never graduate high school. Look at this. How many little Latino and black children has been abandoned by Maxine Waters? This is the reality for children every day in Maxine Waters' district. Maxine doesn't care about our district. She only cares about herself and using our tax dollars to buy mansions. When Maxine fails to lead, riots and violence surge in our streets while our buildings and businesses burn. Maxine sits safe in her mansion, guarded by the same police she demonizes. Maxine has never had to deal with violence or riots in her neighborhood. That must be nice. But this is the way the rest of us lives. We need someone to represent us who lives here, who fights here, who wants to improve our way of life. Someone who understands we need safe streets and a strong economy. Our children should never have to grow up living in fear of being killed, like I did on this block. You send me to Washington, and I'll make sure our children never have to live in a war zone. Unlike Maxine Waters, I know the pain that crime, violence, gangs, homelessness does to our children. I was one of the kids left behind by Maxine Waters. I'm gonna fight for safety and dignity for South LA. The only question you need to ask is this. In the last 44 years, where has Maxine Waters been? Our people deserve better. My name is Joe Collins. I'm a veteran, I'm a patriot, and I actually care about our lives in LA. LA deserves better. Let's retire Maxine Waters to her mansion. I'm Joe Collins, and I'm the man to do it.
Joining us now, Joe Collins, South LA, District 43, running against Maxine Waters. Joe, thanks for being with us. I know you're up early in LA. Thank you.
And thanks for having me. And I'm always up. I mean, we got a few days to the election. We haven't slept in a year at Team Collins.
Well, Joe, that is one of the best ads I've seen, right up there with the Kim Klacik ad in South Baltimore. I think there's a trend here. I mean, But, even different than Kim Klacik, because you actually grew up there, and I think that story, hearing it on the radio is one thing, showing it on the screen, because it was a video ad as well, showing this beautiful mansion. She doesn't even live in the district. I mean, how do the people of South LA not hold Maxine Waters accountable for anything, Joe?
You know what? I have no idea, but I know that they did know she lived in a huge mansion, somewhere outside of the district. And so when we showed the contrast of how she lives versus how we live in a district, it made a lot of people upset.
Tell us about your campaign. I mean, obviously, she's been there 44 years. She's got a ton of money. She's a very powerful legislator. She's got a machine going. How do you break into that, make some noise, and actually make the race competitive, Joe Collins?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues that we had whenever we first started the campaign was I'm a Republican in a predominantly Democratic district. And so we had to figure out a way to out-fundraise Maxine Waters, which we did. We raised $8 million on our campaign. She only raised $1.4 million. And so we were able to buy all the TV advertising, all the radio advertising, all the billboards, and get really connected and visible in the community. And so we just started pointing out the injustices that we've been seeing when it comes to the lack of education, the lack of quality jobs, the poor economic development in our communities, and opportunities that we haven't had in a long time. And people started to listen. And we gained a lot of momentum, which is why we're doing so well right now.
So when you say momentum, I mean, obviously you're making some noise. Have you gotten her attention? I mean, has she campaigned at all? Or is she just blowing you off like she's done everybody else in that district?
Oh, yeah, she's campaigned. I remember the first time I heard an advertisement from her. She said my name 6 times in a 1-minute advertisement. I was like, wow, she's really campaigning. But she sucks at campaigning. She's ran a slander campaign the whole entire time to try to discredit me, but it hasn't worked in her favor. We even filed a few lawsuits against her for defamation, for literally lying to try and sway voters and everything. So she's trying to campaign, but I don't think it's going to work out in her favor this time.
So what could she be saying about you, Joe? You're a veteran. You grew up in the district. I mean, you went to school there. You got shot at. What possibly negative things could she be saying about you?
She's told everybody I was dishonorably discharged. She's told people I'm a womanizer, and she says I'm a Trump puppet. Just all the ridiculous things that someone who has done nothing for their district for 44 years would say to try and convince people not to vote for me.
When you say you outraise her, I mean, have you raised enough money to actually run a competitive campaign?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've done really good at fundraising.
What's your game plan here for the next 5 days, Joe?
For the next 5 days, we're just going to continue what we've been doing. I think now we've switched up our messaging to talk about the type of leader that we need in the district. We've talked about how we're going to rebuild our district, improve our education system, and that message is hitting home now that we finally exposed Maxine Waters for the fraud and crook that she is.
Tell us, Joe Collins, about, are you knocking on doors? How are you engaging voters in the district?
Well, yeah, we knock on doors. We're making phone calls. We have a lot of community events. We started off with the free food pantry when COVID hit and the shutdown took a toll on a lot of families. We've done a ton of back-to-school drives, backpack drives. We've done prayer breakfasts. We literally cleaned up the streets on a regular basis. And pretty much anything we can do to engage voters. I know last week we had a grab-and-go for Halloween. We had the game truck. We had the snow cone trucks and food out. And we had all the community kids come up to the office and enjoy themselves for a couple of hours. So we've been doing a lot of positive things in the community.
When you're talking to people one-on-one about Maxine, about the district, what are they saying, Joe?
Well, I think a lot of people are telling me that, they're ready for a change, but they want somebody who's going to actually do something for them, someone who they can relate to. A lot of people in the district, some like President Trump, some don't like President Trump, but they're all looking forward to me working with the president to bring opportunities to our communities. We all know that President Trump has the platinum plan with the $500 billion, and people in the district understands that he's not going to give that to Maxine Waters because nobody likes Maxine. And so, they're ready for some new leadership.
So this is interesting. One of my Democrat listeners, Rufus, texts in from Richmond, Virginia. He says, it's impossible for him to get elected. Maxine brings millions of dollars to the district. Where's the money? Where's the money go?
Maxine doesn't bring any money to the district. She doesn't bring anything, which is why we have the poorest education 43% of the people who live in a district are living below the poverty line. So Maxine isn't bringing any money. She isn't bringing any economic development. Even when we talk about the Rams and other football teams that have came to Los Angeles, that wasn't because of Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters has been a poor legislator for a very long time. So I don't know what that caller was talking about, but that's not Maxine Waters.
That district, normally she doesn't have any competition, and I checked when she does, she's getting 88% of the vote. What's your opportunity? What's your best opportunity, Joe?
I really think that we're going to win this race. I'm really confident about that. We've run a very strong campaign. We've engaged with every single voter who is registered to vote in the district. We've had a great turnout of creating young voters, and I think we're going to win this. We're going to pull it off.
Joe, we're looking at poll numbers right now. Both Rasmussen, our Trump internal polls, and also Trafalgar has Trump getting somewhere in the area of 25% of the black vote. True or false?
I think it's false. I think he's going to get more of the black vote. And the reason why is because a lot of young people know that, Joe Biden has written that crime bill and incentivized the mass incarceration of blacks and Latinos by providing cash incentives and block grants for throwing people in jail for the assumption of a crime. And that, with the amount of black people that are being killed on a regular basis, be it gang violence, gun violence, domestic violence, or what have you, these are our proponents of the laws that Joe Biden has written in the 1970s. And, our president has a plan to improve our communities. He created criminal justice reform and police reform to be able to combat these laws that Joe Biden has put in place. And a lot of people see it. So he has a huge support base from people who have not came out and said that they're Republicans or Democrats or anything like that. But, he's going to get probably about 40% of the black vote.
You really are you saying that in your district or countrywide?
Countrywide.
That's unbelievable. In Michigan right now, we had one poll, and of course, everybody thinks it's an outlier on our team, and I'm talking about our own people. We had one internal poll showing him right now getting 35% of the black vote in Michigan. So we're going back and checking those numbers. We've also got polling now where he's over 50% of the Hispanic vote in Florida. I mean, these are real numbers. I mean, the Democrats don't want to admit this, but if you get through November 3rd and Trump has got 45% of the Latino vote and 25% of the black vote, their entire victim coalition, Joe, collapses in one night. Is that possible?
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely possible, and that's something that we're waiting for. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm absolutely sick of people complaining about problems that they don't want to be the solutions to. And so with President Trump in office, we'll honestly have the opportunity to start being the solutions to our own problems. So we're definitely looking forward to it. All
right. Joe Collins, people want to donate to your campaign or get involved. Joe, where do they go?
Go to my website, joecollinsforcongress.com.
joecollinsforcongress.com. Joe, let's have you back again.